Warning. You are entering a restricted area. Return to where you came from, or be destroyed.
You're heading your way towards the useless nerdy knowledge. Please do not go any further. If you will not comply, you will hear a nerd rambling.
Nerd alert!
Get those nerds! 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 Nerds!
Exterminate!
Go ahead, make my day.
Bazinga!
I'll be back.
Hello, fellow podcast listeners. My name is Ben, and welcome to another episode of Useless Nerdy Knowledge. So since it's getting towards the end of September, and we're getting into the spooky season, I figured I'd talk about one more thing before we get into that whole subject of horror and Halloween-y stuff and all that. So on a couple episodes ago, I talked about my top 10 favorite science fiction films. So I figured that for this episode, I would talk about my top 10 least favorite science fiction films. Now, there's still a lot out there that I haven't really seen, and I know that there's probably some that are worse than this list, but currently this is just my list of my least favorite science fiction movies that I've seen so far, basically. So really quickly, I'll just get my honorable mention out of the way, just so I don't forget it, really. This for my honorable mention would be Blade Runner 2049. Now, I didn't really hate this movie. I just felt like it didn't exactly capture the same magic or feel as the original did. Like, don't get me wrong, it was good to a point. It just felt different. It didn't have the same type of feel to it, and yeah. And only seeing like Harrison Ford like close to the end of the movie is just a bit kind of, I don't know, just something about it just didn't really click. Something just didn't really feel right, you know? The fact that there's like already like 5 different versions, like 5 different cuts of the first original Blade Runner movie is already like bizarre enough, but this one just didn't really feel right, you know? Like, don't get me wrong, the movie's fine for what it is, but it's just, I don't know, just didn't really click with me. And so starting off with number 10, we have Dalek Invasion 2150 AD, and just to get this out of the way, number 9 would be Doctor Who and the Daleks. I believe this was in like 1965 and 1966 or 67. Basically, Doctor Who and the Daleks came first, and then Dalek Invasion 2150 AD came next after that. So since the original Doctor Who series was, becoming a big booming success in England, or in England, whatever. It started off in 1963, and basically these movies starred Peter Cushing, and basically kind of rebooted or rehashed the first couple episodes. Basically, it's like taking the whole first few episodes of Doctor Who, like the very, very first one of Unearthly Child, and kind of merging that with the very first appearance of the Daleks. Like, some of the dialogue is pretty much the same, and I don't know, just something about this is just different. Like, it's cool to see Peter Cushing in there, because if you're familiar with Peter Cushing, you're familiar with like the Hammer horror films where he played as Van Helsing, and most notably as Grand Moff Tarkin in the original Star Wars movie. With this movie, it had my interest at first, like when I first saw the beginning of Doctor Who and the Daleks, but then it kind of went downhill, and the same thing kind of went for Dalek Invasion. Again, I don't remember a whole lot. I think I remember that with Dalek Invasion, there wasn't a whole lot of Peter Cushing in there. I don't remember why, but basically this was just one I didn't find interesting. I think that like when I first like got the whole DVD collection on it was like the Anchor Bay releases, and if you're a nerd and you collect DVDs, you'll know that there are certain DVDs out there that are expensive. And for some reason, I have like some good luck, some very, very good luck with finding really expensive and rare DVD finds. and this was one of them. This was like when I tried searching this up on like eBay or whatever, it was like around 100 or more, or maybe even a little bit less. But I think I found this for about like 20 something or somewhere around there. Maybe it's just someone who didn't really know what they were giving away. I don't know. But yeah, so those two so far are like number 10 and number 9 on the list. For number 8 for me is Robocop 3. Now, the original Robocop is an absolute blast, just a total classic, just very, very well done of Officer Murphy basically being turned into a literal robotic cyborg. And Robocop 2 was pretty okay, but Robocop 3 just was not as great. I feel like that there's lots of movies that suffer from a threequel. What do I want to call this? Threequel syndrome, maybe, because it's like third movies are not guaranteed to be as good as the past two movies. Lots of movies suffer from this, like Terminator 3, Alien 3, Scream 3. You know, lots of movies that have threes in the title where they're not as good as the first two. It's like the first is the good and classic that started it all. Second one potentially better than the first, and then the third one is just the not that good, like the deformed cousin or something. I don't know. I'm not giving a good analogy, but you kind of get the idea. So yeah, for this one, again, this was another one I don't remember a whole lot about. I believe that it involved RoboCop and this little girl, and the fact that like the partner that stuck in between the two movies was basically killed off. I believe early in the movie. It was kind of disappointing. It was just a big fat and I believe the same actor who played RoboCop or Alex Murphy in the first two didn't really appear for the rest. Like they kind of used his face for this one, and I believe the TV series to basically go, okay, this is the same guy, but it wasn't exactly the same actor. So yeah, that's what I have to say about this. Number 7 is Independence Day. Now, I get that some people... number 7, Independence Day. I get that some people like this movie, but this was just one I found a bit dull and boring, where I feel like it's all over the place and has an interesting cast, but they just don't do anything. And I understand it's a movie where it's about aliens, go to, blow stuff up, and they try to... But I feel like they could have just done something a bit more with this. And of course, these are the same guys who did Stargate and the 1998 Godzilla, and not to mention the fact that they even did Independence Day Resurgence, which I refuse to see because, first of all, Resurgence is just as much of a cliche title as Resurrection. I mean, let's be real here. But yeah, this one, like, it has Will Smith, has Randy Quaid in it, and I believe Brent Spiner's in it. I'm probably thinking of a different movie, but no, I think Brent Spiner's in it. But again, it's just like, and it has the guy who plays as the president is the guy who plays as Lone Star from Spaceballs. I apologize that I can't remember his name, but I think you know who I'm talking about. But again, this was just one I didn't find too interesting, and it's just not that great. Number 6 for me would have to be, and I really shouldn't count this, but I'm going to count it anyway, would be the TV only specials of the 2 Star Wars movies, the Ewok Adventures. Now, for those of you who are not aware, there were 2 made-for-TV movies that George Lucas made. I want to say in the late 80s, I believe, basically of like 2 Ewok movies that basically starred Wicket and a whole bunch of other Ewoks. Again, not really that great. I feel like I only wanted it just to kind of fit in my whole Star Wars collection because I have like the original Unaltered trilogy on a Blu-ray, and I have the 2 Ewok movies on one DVD. I have like the 1997 special editions on VHS, and then the entire Skywalker saga on one whole Blu-ray set, including the 2 Star Wars stories. It's just that with these ones, they just didn't have any magic to them. There was not a lot of blaster fights at all, really, and there was like no mentions of like lightsabers or the Force or anything that I can really think of. It's just not that great. It really isn't. Like if you're a hardcore Star Wars fan, like how you badly you want to see the Star Wars Christmas special, then go for it. It's just that Battle for Endor and Caravan of Courage are just not great. So yeah. Number 5 right here would be Terminator Genesis. Now, I understand with the Terminator series, it's kind of had a rough patch where Terminator 3, first of all, was kind of a big, this is kind of the same thing we saw since the last couple of movies. Terminator Salvation was different, but didn't have Arnold Schwarzenegger in it, not really. And then of course, there was Terminator Genesis, and then a couple years after that, Terminator Dark Fate, which I saw in theaters, and again, like just like me, lots of people are debating, well, which one is worse than the other? Is it Genesis or is it Dark Fate? We can't decide, and it's like we're really torn apart by which is worse. Um, I I would put Dark Fate on this list, but I don't know, just something about Linda Hamilton actually coming back feels like it's a lot better for me. I don't know why. It wasn't as exciting when I watched it in the theaters. Like when I rewatched it, it was just like a big, oh yeah, this wasn't that good. But anyway, for Terminator Genesis, I feel like this was just a big spit in the face of any fans, really. Like they made a big deal of it for a little bit, but then with like once Dark Fate came into theaters, it was just like no one cared anymore. It's like we're really drawn out on the Terminator series. Like it's just sad that no one really cares anymore. I feel like that it's just like, oh, another Terminator movie. Well, that's not going to be good, hence the last one. So, I don't know. With Genesis, it's just that the actors who played as Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor, they just didn't click. And they just didn't really have any chemistry together or anything like that. Or they didn't even look like how they were supposed to, like, from the original movie. It's like, yeah, Schwarzenegger's back in this, but it's like, I don't see this woman as Sarah Connor. I don't see this clunky-looking piece of wood as Kyle Reese, and the fact that John Connor later becomes a Terminator is another like spit in the face, kind of like the beginning of Dark Fate was. But it's just this was just so boring for me to watch and just hard to wrap my mind around what in the world am I watching. So yeah, Terminator Genesis, not my thing, and they spelled Genesis wrong because I should know. I grew up with the Sega Genesis. Anyway, number 4 for me would be Soldier. Now, this is a very obscure kind of movie where this is supposedly a sequel to Blade Runner. I believe this has the same writer or producer as the original Blade Runner, but this time it stars Kurt Russell, basically as a soldier who has no feelings for what happens. You know, he was made to be a soldier, basically. And you know, I had high hopes to be like, okay, maybe there's some similarities to Blade Runner or whatever. And, I mean, maybe there was. But, again, I was just so bored. And I was like, I don't get this and I don't understand it. And, therefore, I don't like it. I remember asking it for, I think, my birthday or Christmas. And, well, yeah. I mean, it has Kurt Russell. I absolutely love Kurt Russell in his movies. But this one just didn't really grab me that much, really. But I mean, you have better luck actually knowing that Ridley Scott confirmed that the Alien series and the Blade Runner series are basically connected in the exact same universe, just in different years or whatever. And speaking of which, number 3 would be Alien vs. Predator Requiem. Now, of course, the first Alien vs. Predator movie, not as good, but it does give what it promises, which is Alien vs. Predator. However, from what I can remember from Alien vs. Predator Requiem, it was boring, and I didn't like it. I mean, it was just so hard to focus on this movie because it's like I don't know how to describe it. It just feels like it's too dark. Like the lighting is really really dark, and I just didn't understand what was going on. I don't think there were really any characters that I followed or cared about. I just didn't like it. So yeah, that for me, I don't like that movie. Number 2, we have Alien 3. Now, as I mentioned before, that lots of threequels suffer from the threequel syndrome that I guess now I'm newly calling it, where this one absolutely spits in the face of Aliens, which is the second in the Alien franchise, by killing off all of the characters that you loved and rooted for, and you didn't want to see them die. And the only person that's left alive is Ellen, which is played by Sigourney Weaver. And yeah, that's cool, but come on, you literally killed all of the likable characters from the last movie and just give a big giant middle finger. It's like, why would you do that? It makes no sense, and the fact that we get to see somewhat of off-camera things of little old Newt being gutted to make sure that there's no alien in there just makes it a big more traumatizing. Like, wow, I paid money to see this movie, and this is what happens next? Wow, it's absolutely amazing. And yeah, the rest of it really goes downhill. It's so bad that there was even like 2 different cuts to make the dog alien to not come from a dog, but it was like from an ox or something like that, and it was like added in CG. So they're basically trying to Star Wars Special Edition it and all that stuff. So yeah, really not that good. I would not really recommend this movie unless you absolutely have to, and then watch Resurrection after that. But it's not that great. And finally, at number 1, jeez, I don't even know where to begin with this one. Now, again, I understand that there's probably worse science fiction movies out there, but these are mainly like big ones I'm talking about right here. And this one would have to be the second in the original Planet of the Apes series. Beneath the Planet of the Apes, for me, would be my number 1 least favorite science fiction movie. Now, the reason for this is that, 1, there's not enough Charlton Heston. 2, not a lot of apes in a movie called Planet of the Apes. 3, a weird freaking cult or race of underground people, and the ending was completely anticlimactic. Like, I don't even know how to describe this movie or where to begin, because this is definitely something that you would have to watch yourself in order to know what I'm talking about. But you wouldn't want to watch it because of how absolutely atrociously bad it is. Like, it's just asinine to think of how someone could think, yeah, this is definitely more substantial than the first one. Like, oh, jeez, there's just, like, nowhere to begin with it. Like, I don't even understand how someone could think that was good. The next one after that, like Escape from the Planet of the Apes, was a lot better, but that's not saying much, because Beneath the Planet of the Apes was still, like, one of the worst movies I've ever seen, and it's like, why would they do this? So, yeah. Beneath the Planet of the Apes, I do not recommend. I would say just stick with the first one. If you really want to watch this, then go ahead, be my guest. Watch Escape from the Planet of the Apes. Maybe watch the other 2 after that. And then go ahead and like watch the Tim Burton remake, and then the new Planet of the Apes trilogy, prequel trilogy I believe is what it's called. So yeah, so that's my episode for this week. And hopefully for October, I'll be talking about different horror topics and all that. So hopefully you enjoyed listening. If you have anything to talk about, comment about, let me know. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you very much for listening to Useless Nerdy Knowledge.